Hello, friends. The 703rd day of the war between Russia and Ukraine continues. Today, the commander of the Ukrainian ground forces, Siersky, visited military positions on the Eastern Front. According to him, the situation remains difficult. The Russians are increasing the intensity of offensive operations in the Siversk and Bakhmut directions. With the forces of assault groups, with the active support of mortar and artillery crews, the enemy is trying to attack in the Kremina-Ichugorivka direction, Siersky said. In the Bakhmut direction, the Russians are conducting offensive operations, trying to break through the defenses north and west of Bakhmut and develop an offensive towards Chasiv Yar. They are trying to restore the lost situation in the areas of Klishchiivka and Andriivka, said Siersky. Meanwhile, Russian military telegram channels today announced the capture of the village of Tabaivka in the Kupiansk section of the Kharkiv direction. This is not far from the village of Krokhmalny, which the Russians occupied last week, which was also confirmed by the Ukrainian command. I note that in the morning report of the General Staff, it is reported that in the Kupiansk sector the Russian army carried out 13 attacks near Tabaivka and Stelmakhivka. This direction is towards the eastern shore of the Oskil Reservoir, which is considered the tactical goal of the Russian offensive. At the same time, Ukraine does not confirm the seizure of Tabaivka. The head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, Syengubov, today announced heavy fighting in the area, but added that the situation there is fully controlled by the armed forces of Ukraine. We have two quite serious directions: Syengivka and Tabaivka. This is another direction, a little south of the city of Kupiansk, which is also quite difficult, but completely controlled by our armed forces, Syengubov said. There is no mention of Tabaivka in Ukrainian telegram channels today. It is reported about the next repulsed attacks of the Russians in the northern part of Syengivka in the Kupiansk sector. Let me remind you that on April 12, 2023, Russian troops advanced south of Liman Pershi, taking positions north of Syengivka. From these positions, for 10 months now, the enemy has continued to make attempts to dislodge the Ukrainian armed forces from the northern part of the settlement and gain a foothold in it. In November-December 2023, the enemy launched more than 40 attacks, and all of them were failures, just like the attacks in January 2024. The thing is that the Ukrainian armed forces control all the dominant heights on the western, high bank of the Oskil River, which will allow them to keep under fire control of most of the forest on the eastern bank. The geographical location of Syengivka itself also plays an important role, which, together with regular attacks by FPV drones from the defense forces, has not allowed the enemy to gain a foothold in the northern part for 10 months now. As a result, Russian troops suffered significant losses in manpower and equipment over 10 months. In the Liman section of the Kharkiv direction, according to Ukrainian telegram channels, heavy fighting continues near Terny and in Serebryansky forestry, without significant changes. Meanwhile, U.S. plans for Ukraine do not provide for the return of lost territories, writes the Washington Post. According to the newspaper, the Biden administration is working on a long-term strategy to support Kyiv. She will de-emphasize retaking territory and instead focus on helping Ukraine fend off new Russian offensives, and also strengthen the defense and economic capabilities of Kyiv. The goal is for Ukraine to become much stronger by the end of 2024, senior U.S. officials told the publication. This strategy does not mean that the Ukrainians are simply going to dig in. In 2024, there will still be territorial exchanges in small population centers of minimal strategic value, missile and drone launches from both sides. The West hopes that Ukraine will not lose new territories in 2024, the article says. But Zelensky publicly insists that Ukraine will continue its offensive. The U.S. policymakers who recently met privately with him say Zelensky has doubts about how ambitious his actions will be next year without clarity on U.S. assistance. The publication points out that the defense strategy carries risks, including political ones, if Ukrainians begin to blame their government for stagnation. It's the same in Western capitals, where officials are well aware that their citizens' patience with financing the Ukrainian war is not unlimited, writes the Washington Post. However, the U.S. believes that the Ukrainians should emerge from 2024 with a roadmap to building a highly deterrent military. Therefore, if Congress approves the allocation of funds to Kiev, part of them will go to the development of the Ukrainian industrial base for the production of weapons. The plan also includes additional air defense to create protective bubbles around Ukrainian cities outside of Kiev and Odessa. In addition, if Congress approves funding for Ukraine, the United States this spring will be able to conclude a 10-year agreement on security guarantees for Ukraine, the article says. The American document will guarantee support for short-term military operations and will also create a future Ukrainian military force that can deter Russian aggression. It will include specific promises and programs, the newspaper's sources say. Such guarantees, given officially, could protect the future of aid to Ukraine if Trump comes to power and decides to stop it.
Friends, this channel exists solely thanks to your support. If you have the opportunity and desire to support the channel, I will be very grateful to you. Thank you very much and see you in the next video.